Hey everybody, this is Charles Morgan for Comic Week, and I'm sorry I was out last week. I had a bit of a cold. I didn't want to get anybody at Awful Comics sick with my cold, so we didn't actually shoot a video this last week. We will be back on Wednesday with a new video. But over the weekend before last, I went up to the Baltimore Comic Con. It's about a 4 or 5 hour drive from here in our offices. There's a lot of traffic around the convention center. It took us about 2 hours to get from the off-ramp into downtown Baltimore to an actual place we could park our car, because at the same time there was the convention, there was a race going on, a foot race. So it was a complete pandemonium, the worst traffic situation I've ever seen in Baltimore. There are actually people getting out of their cars to yell at the traffic cops. So it just tells you how just awkward and weird and just unsafe it was. Also, while we were stuck in traffic, we had people like basically this group of 5 or 6 teenagers. They were going car to car trying to wash our windshields and sort of haranguing us for money. You know, it's just not a good experience. The convention itself was packed to the gills with people. You know, there were a lot of top creators there. Got to see Stan Sakai, Jeff Lemire, and others who were present at the show. There were lots of people seeking autographs and buying comics. I picked up a few things, including #1 issue of the first printing of Omaha Cat Dancer, which you know, is something I'm working on for a project that I'll announce later. Also, there was you know, quite a few opportunities to get some discount trades. Of course, floppy comics were not being sold anywhere really for a discount, at least not the ones I wanted. I did in the last week and a half though pick up quite a few comic books and interesting things, and also I have the weekly giveaway comic, which I'm moving the giveaway date from Tuesday to Wednesday to correspond with the new video. We sort of started it with a Tuesday to Tuesday schedule, thinking that we would have like a separate video packet for it, but it just really didn't get a lot of views, so I just decided I was just going to drop it and include a video promo during the weekly giveaway comment. So to stop any confusion, it'll be Wednesday to Wednesday giveaways for our CGC comic giveaway. And this week we are actually giving away a copy of the Infinity Gauntlet #1, this iconic image on the cover here. This is a CGC 9.4. So you have until Wednesday around noon, and that's when we will announce our winner. So what did I pick up and what else do we have going on? Picked up quite a few things. I got a big stack here. But before I get into that, and I'm not trying to drag this out by any stretch of the imagination, I did over the last week conduct an interview with Bobby Curnow, the creator of Ghost Tree. We talked for about half an hour, not only about the Ghost Tree comic, which I think is one of the year's best original comics. It was published by IDW, not a very big print run, only a few thousand copies per issue. And it was actually kind of difficult to find the first printings of issue #1 and 2 at your local shop, but it's definitely worth it. In December, I believe, there will be a trade paperback, so you can pick up the entire story if you prefer that format as opposed to floppies. I thought it was a beautiful, elegant, touching, moving, deep and sophisticated comic. Simon Gain, of course, contributed the artwork. He worked with Bobby on Godzilla before. There's lots of very interesting details, and I've been fortunate enough to pick up some original art pages from the comic, which are in my collection. So I intend to publish that entire interview with Bobby later this week. So look for it on Thursday or Friday, and please check it out. We have 2 previous interviews. I did one with Rob Sheridan, creator of High Level, and we also did one a couple weeks before that with Aubrey Sitterson, the creator of No One Left to Fight. These are great, engaging, deep, in-depth conversations with comic book creators about the art, the medium, the industry, pressures on publications due to the declining number of physical sales. So these are very interesting conversations. I hope you enjoy listening to them as much as I love talking to these creators. So anyway, that'll be Ghost Tree, and that'll be later in the week. So what did I pick up? Well, I got some new things and some back issues. So I picked up this interesting DC release called Superman Smashes the Klan. This is from a vintage radio special. It was turned into a comic book. It features a sort of an Asian family and coming to terms with prejudice in mid-century, last century America, or a version of it. And it's a very interesting story about Superman fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. And that American way, of course, is an American based on the ideal that all men are created equal and that we can get along in society. So I'm happy to see this little book come out. It's very interesting. I'm a big Sea of Thieves fan. I play that on Xbox sometimes when I have free time. Not that I have a lot of it. Got to the rank of Pirate Legend even. So when Sourceprint announced that this title was coming out, this is the Beyond the Demon and the Sea, and I flipped through the pages of it, and it looked like a bunch of skin art from pirates, if you will. So I was really happy to see it. I picked up this copy, and this was also included on Key Collector Comics. There was a variant cover, which I didn't see at any shop, but I was satisfied just to get a copy to read. I picked up this very novelty cover. I'm a huge fan of video games, dating back to the Atari. This looks like a classic Atari cartridge. This, of course, is Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. I don't usually read the series, but you know, you do a cover like this, I'm a complete sucker, and I picked it up and put it in that 4mm Mylar. I've been following Ahoy Comics Second Coming. This was intended to be a DC Vertigo title. It's been very interesting and amusing. The first few issues were surprising to me, as they were sort of deep digs into the theological arguments towards what Jesus Christ's teachings are in the Bible. You know, when I studied English at the University of Virginia, I also studied some comparative religion. And although I find that, you know, a lot of times we take these topics way too seriously from a sort of a social call, the way we treat each other. I do think that there are always interesting discussions to be had concerning the topic. I feel that the topic, you know, gets a little bit boisterous or randy sometimes, but there are moments where you see some actual reasoning about what's going on here, even if that's not the total intention of the series. Of course, I picked up the Immortal Hulk number 25. This is a large size issue, the final issue of the sort of groundbreaking for the character story arc that launched over 2 years ago. The Immortal Hulk will have, of course, more issues after this, but it will be the continuation or the beginning of a new story. I've liked this cover, this very intense, almost galactic cosmos cover, since it was first announced in previews many months ago. Of course, this has been a hot comic this week. This is the Batman Beyond with the first appearance of Batwoman in this version of the universe. This is a very cool, distinctive cover. This one I think is trading for about $10 to $15 on eBay, while the variant cover, which was more prevalent in the stores as of Wednesday around noon, is selling for a cover price at the moment. Cannot get enough of Criminal. This is issue number 9. This is again one of the top tier series as far as comic book writing for the year, and something you definitely should check out. Get pretty much anything that Ed Brubaker puts out, especially when it deals with crime. Is very, very unique read, and it reminds me of some of the best pulp cop shows or procedural shows that you might have seen on television, mixed with a little bit of that 1970s exploitation vibe. So I picked up, and I think I may have a few of these. Let's see if I can dig one out here before I go whole hog into it. Yes, I ordered more than one, but I only have one here. So this is Money Shot number 1. This again is a Vault comic release. It reminds me a little bit of Bombshells, more like Bombshells than Sex Criminals. Sex Criminals and Sex and a few other Image titles, and even Unnatural by America and Adolfo, have sort of created, I would say, hard R-rated comic books based around ideas of humor and sex. Money Shot reminds me more of Bomb Queen, although it does have some perverseness, and Bomb Queen's more of a mean kind of perverseness. As far as the nudity or graphic nature of the anatomy, it really isn't there. It's more of a tease title. Of course, you know, you see here, this has got like, you know, beautiful people, you know, prophylactics, a pickle or whatever, cucumbers, so it's obviously stand-in. But this really, inside, doesn't deliver this level of spectacle, although it is kind of funny. And then there is a Mir Gandolfo variant. There's several variant covers. And so I picked this one up. The eBay sellers are not showing. The actual covers are showing the black graphical cover over it, which tells you that, you know, this is a you know, risque cover. On the back of one of those inserts is this illustration. Again, I would just call this, you know, soft R kind of title. Definitely harder than a soft R. This is that copy of Omaha Cat Dancer I was telling you about. I've been looking at sort of key or critical comics from what I consider the modern period, from the mid-1980s to the present, and I'm just trying to get a grasp of the way we go from the end of the Bronze Age and the Copper Age to trends and things in comics today. So I've been picking up key issues as I can, just to sort of get a good library of it and a good perspective. I would call this probably a VF plus. Of course, I had to put it in a Golden Age bag for it to fit. I didn't like the poly bag it was in. So anyway, there's that. That's Reed Walker's Omaha Cat Dancer, a very influential title for the period. Again, at Baltimore, I got Jeff Lemire to sign a copy of Quantum Age, and so he has that there. It's got a COA in the back, but of course that won't get me it. Won't get it in a CGC holder. Picked up this copy of Marvel, and this was sort of hiding around in the cheaper boxes, which has surprised me. It's not in the greatest condition. It's probably like a fine, but you know, I picked it up. All right, more back issues here. Going into the night, growing up in the 80s and 90s, becoming a teenager and adult in the early 90s, I read quite a bit of the Sandman. So this is basically me just going back and getting issues that I don't know if I even had these. I probably picked this series up around the Kindly ones, but I had friends who had like the Game of You, Season of the Mist and whatnot. So I picked these up. I have most of these issues for the first 10 or 15 issues in graded holders. I feel like, you know, the classic run of Sandman that you would want to get graded would be 1 through 8. And if you want to look at some conditional rarities, you know, there's the special Ramadan cover, and I think the last issue of the series, pretty tough to get in high grade. So, but these were just $3 or $4, and that was like not really that big a deal for me to pick them up and add them to my stack of stuff. All right, so then getting into some more things. I'm running kind of near the end here. I picked up Action Comics 1016. This is a job for Naomi. I kind of like what they've done with Naomi. I want to see how they integrate her into the wider DC universe. I feel like there's parts of the DC universe that really don't appeal to me. So I'm gonna check this out for a while and trust that Brian Michael Bendis has a good idea what to do with that character. So there's that. She debuted, of course, in the Action Comics run, the issue before. Then there is Ascender number 6. This is Jeff Lemire, and I hear a lot of people mispronounce the last name of this artist. It's Dustin Nguyen. It's a Vietnamese name, not Nguyen. So I picked this up. I like this. Of course, I also like Descender, and I like this sort of watercolor aesthetic. It's interesting. I'm waiting to see the Ascender covers match the cover of the first issue, which I think was the most beautiful. Sort of remind me a little bit of Zelda. But the Descender covers had quite a few that were very striking, and I'm waiting for the Ascender covers to sort of match that level of sci-fi awesomeness. Now, if you know me at all, you know that I am a huge fan of Eric Larson and and what he does pretty much anywhere. Of course, Savage Dragon 246 comes out. It's a romp, and you know, this character on the cover, you know, has a very interesting demise. They all do at the hands of Eric Larson and the Dragon. So this was very cool. This is issue 246. Well on the road to 250. And of course, I'm filling out my backlog, the stock I don't have yet. Some of these I probably had, but I've been trying to get some of these back issues and finding them in lots because I find that it's cheaper and easier than to get one comic and pay $6 or $7 for shipping and hope they're nice. If I get like maybe 3 or 4 issues I don't have, even if I get a couple I do, maybe the issue I get is better than the one I have. Maybe I get to, you know, cost average it. But anyway, I picked up 129. 130, right? 144, 159, which is a homage to the first cover of issue 1, the second series. Issue 197, and issue 210, and there's Maxine. And to me, Maxine is the heart and soul of it. I am married to a Vietnamese woman, and she reminds me very much of my wife. And everything about her is just really, you know, kind of something that I have a parallel to in some respects, you know, minus the comic book nature. I'm talking about her personality, not the things that happen to her in the comics. So anyway, so that does it. That's 2 weeks of haul there. Of course, you know, you have your own goals and collecting interests and areas of the comic book world that you like to collect. I'd like to hear about it. I'd like to hear what you're reading, why you like what you're liking. If you like any of the things I do or what you liked about them, it's a conversation that I'd like to have. And you can leave comments about it and we can talk. And again, I'll be back with you. I'll be filming on Wednesday at Alpha Comics with the staff there, going over this week's new releases. So for Comic Week, I'm Comic Week editor and publisher Charles Morgan. We'll see you soon. Thanks.